Question: have you ever dreamed of writing a book? If you have, I have some great news. Here's the truth. Every day you wait, you're missing opportunities to establish yourself as the authority, attract new clients, make a lasting impact. But let's be honest, writing a book can feel overwhelming. Figuring out where to start, creating a plan, and navigating the entire process can feel impossible, especially when you're juggling everything else on your plate this year. That's where selfpublishing.com comes in. Over the past few years, their team has helped over 8,000 people in nearly 100 countries, including coaches, entrepreneurs, and business professionals, turn their ideas into best-selling books. The proven process includes step-by-step coaching and world-class book production services, including expert editing, formatting, and cover design, to make the journey simple and achievable. The new year is the perfect time to take action. Don't let another year pass by without achieving your dream of writing a book. Visit selfpublishing.com/DNA to register for a free 1-hour masterclass that I'm co-hosting with Chandler Bolt, the founder and CEO of selfpublishing.com. In this masterclass, you're going to gain actionable tools to write, publish, and share your book with the world. Go to selfpublishing.com/DNA.
New York Times says 81% of people want to do it. We know that less than 1% actually do it. So you become part of an elite club when you do it. But if you want to bring leverage to your business, if you feel like you have expertise to share and you want to create something that lives after you're off this earth, you should try to publish a book. And I think, especially for that business owner looking to go from one-to-one to one-to-many, it's like, how do I scale? How do I bring leverage to what I'm doing? A book is the ultimate leverage, right? Because you do work once, you create this book, and then this book goes on to impact thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people. And it brings in customers, it grows your business, it trains your employees, it trains and onboards your customers. I mean, there's just so many ways, points of leverage that a book can bring to your business.
What is up, Entrepreneur DNA? We are back. It is the beginning of the year, and I'll tell you, this subject is so near and dear to my heart, and this individual who I am having on this episode can make a massive difference in your business going into 2025. Today, I have selfpublishing.com owner, founder, creator, the man himself, that could help you guys write your own book if you want. Chandler Bolt is here. What's up, dude?
Justin, what's happening? Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, this is something so near and dear to my heart because quite literally I just dropped my book like 2 weeks ago, right before the holidays.
Exciting.
Super
Congratulations.
exciting.
That's amazing.
It is. And so I'm super excited about it, and I'm super excited to have you here because that process was such a learning, freeing process for me. And I want to kind of talk about that live with you. In fact, I probably have a bunch of questions I could be asking you, as my audience probably does. But let's just talk about this whole concept about self-publishing, period, right? I mean, you have now taken what I think most commoners, myself included, until I just went through this process, sounds like you're trying to climb Mount Everest, right? Like, how am I going to self-publish? How am I going to become an author? I'm not an author. What do I know, right? Maybe kind of start there with what you do as a whole. And then I'm sure I'm going to have like 20 questions on what I could be doing better as a best-selling author now.
Yeah. So, I mean, we exist because the traditional publishing model is broken, right? We're the Uber to the taxi industry. Everybody knows it's broken. No one likes it. No one enjoys it. And it's not a great experience. And so people are seeking a better way. And so it used to be that self-publishing was the backup plan. Now it's the preferred option for most authors because they want to keep their rights and royalties. They want to bet on themselves. And there's just a better way. Publishers don't sell books. They're probably not going to give you any money for your book.
Right.
And so if you truly want to do this the right way and do it in a way that strategically grows your business, it's just the path. So that's why we started, and I did it successfully myself a couple of times. Then people started asking, hey, how are you doing this? And so since then, I've published 7 books. Personally, our company's published thousands. I think we're like 7,000 books or so. We publish about 2 to 5 books a day.
Wow.
This helped me land on the Forbes 30 Under 30. We've done about $70 million in the last decade. I mean, built obviously a very thriving and successful business off of
Sure.
it, but it all started because people were looking for a better way and I mean, we believe that books change lives. And so we're in the business of changing lives and growing businesses through books.
Oh, bro, this is gonna be fun. If you guys are on here and you want to build a bigger brand, grow your business, or just start, by the way, just start. This is gonna be a hell of an episode. So let's talk about this whole who should publish a book. Let's start there. Who should go out there and write a book?
Yeah, I mean, New York Times says 81% of people want to do it. We know that less than 1% actually do it. So you
Yeah.
become part of an elite club when you do it. But if you, I mean, if you want to bring leverage to your business, if you feel like you have expertise to share and you want to create something that lives after you're off this earth, you should try to publish a book. And I think especially for that business owner looking to go from one to one to one to many. It's like, how
Mm.
do I scale? How do I bring leverage to what I'm doing? A book is the ultimate leverage, right? Because you do work once, you create this book, and then this book goes on to impact thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people. And it brings in customers, it grows your business, it trains your employees, it trains and onboards your customers. I mean, there's just so many ways, points of leverage that a book can bring to your business. So business owners for sure, and then those other groups that I mentioned.
Yeah, I would even say, I literally have a one-on-one coaching client I do from time to time to do one-on-one coaching. She wants to write a book because it's on her heart, right? And she just feels like she will be able to make an impact from the experiences she's gone through. And so the only thing I would add to it, yeah, this is called the entrepreneur DNA. Yes, primarily you have business owners, but like I just think you would also have a conversation with someone who just wants to make an impactful, motivation, inspirational, aspirational type of book, right? I mean, there's really kind of no limit to someone who wants to do it, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we help tons of non-business owners write and publish books. That's where you predominantly work with business owners, but I'd say people who just want to make an impact, and they know that they've been through life experiences and they know the book can help other people. We also have a really thriving fiction side of the business,
Mm,
children's book side of the business. So we can help a lot of different ways. But I figure
yeah,
for most people listening to this, it's hey, you're not listening to the entrepreneur DNA, and unless you're an entrepreneur or want to be one. And
that's
a
right.
book is one of the best ways to scale or start a business in my experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, and by the way, big giveaway right now. Chandler, out of the kindness of his own heart, asked if it'd be okay to put together like a training. Like, hey, if people are actually interested, they have further questions. Because as we record this podcast, obviously, you listeners and everyone watching on YouTube and everywhere else, you can't ask us questions right now. And so, out of the kindness of his heart, he said, "Can we put together something that I can actually engage with your audience?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we put together a training coming up on January 15th, right, Chandler? Live. It will be open Q&A. There'll be more training. And so I want you guys, if you want to, go to selfpublishing.com/DNA, right, Chandler?
Yep.
Selfpublishing.com D/DNA. We'll do a live training together. Obviously, I just launched a book. It hit #1 bestseller author within 24 hours. This is what he does. This is how he does it. This has been his entire business, and he can help any of you listening or watching this right now go out and complete maybe a heartfelt mission, a business-led mission, whatever that may be. He is the guy. So selfpublishing.com/DNA. And that'll be on January 15th.
Yep. And just for if you're listening to this after that, it'll be still available for you too. We will make that evergreen. So if you want to learn how to write a book that grows your business, check out selfpublishing.com/DNA, register there. You can get the replay, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. That's great. So you're gonna keep it evergreen, even better for all of you. And guys, here's a little bit of what I would tell you guys, and the reason why I'm so excited to be doing this as the very first episode that I'm recording here in January is because I just did this. I just went through the process. And what I'll tell you is, no, it's not easy to write a book. I wouldn't just say, oh yeah, you just have some thoughts and they come out and you have 200 pages in a book. It's not that. But man, I'll tell you, the processes was not as hard as what I think people say, or think. To your point, I think you quoted like 81% of the people want to write a book, less than 1% do, right? Well, you can make that process. What is kind of the process? Like, how do you simplify this for people who are like, dude, I would love to if it wasn't going to be soul sucking? Did you know that publishing your own book is one of the fastest ways to grow your business, to build trust, and increase your income? But let's face it, getting started can feel impossible. Mindset hurdles like imposter syndrome and doubt can feel overwhelming, and busy schedules don't help either. It's completely normal to feel stuck when starting something so big, but you don't have to do it alone. Every day you delay, you're leaving money and opportunities on the table, not to mention the chance to share your story with the world. That's why selfpublishing.com, the leading resource for writing and self-publishing, has helped thousands of aspiring authors turn their ideas into best-selling books. They don't just help you with publishing, they show you how to use your book to grow your business, generate high-quality leads, land speaking gigs, and unlock new revenue streams. With expert author success coaches, step-by-step training, and world-class book production services, including editing, formatting, and cover design, they simply make publishing simple and stress-free. Now is the time to make your New Year's resolution a reality. Visit selfpublishing.com/DNA to register for a free 1-hour masterclass where I'm co-hosting with their founder, Chandler Bolt. During the session, we'll share the exact step to writing and publishing a book that could add 7 figures to your business this year alone. Again, you can register for free for the upcoming masterclass by visiting selfpublishing.com/DNA.
Yeah. So I am a C-level English student and a college dropout with ADHD.
There you go.
So if there was a least likely to publish list, it'd just be me at the top. And so I think sometimes the worst students become the best teachers because you know what it's like to struggle with the thing. And so what I did and what we do is we walk people through the 8 milestones. And I know a lot of people are probably listening to this, not watching this, but the 8 milestones, they're steps along the journey. Right. And this is my new book published. When you register for the training, you'll get a free copy of this book as well. So it'll be super
Nice.
helpful for you guys. But there's 8 milestones. The first 4 are what I call the more writing method. So mind map, outline, rough draft, editing. Okay. So that's the more writing method. That's, really the first 4 to 5 steps of the process. Then you move into cover design, formatting, launch. And so that's like, at a glance, those are the 8 milestones that you walk through. And then if you truly want to do this to grow your business, though, that's where you really got to be intentional about. And I've got a chapter on this in the book as well. How do you integrate this into the business? Because this book here has brought in tens of millions of dollars in sales for my company. And so that's where we try to get really strategic and say, how do we use this book to double your leads, your sales, and your referrals? And so that's where I'm sure we can jam on some of that stuff, but that's like the core meat of it. Now, yeah, you can't get there if you don't first get the book done and published. So that's where we help a lot of people is getting their butt in gear and actually getting it done.
Yeah.
But then if you just do it and you don't tie it into your business, you're leaving a ton of money on the table.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, here's the thing I would tell you is the hardest part. So I'm an actual English major. I don't know if you know that, Chandler. Went to UCLA, English major. I will tell you, I read one book in high school, The Catcher and the Rye. I still remember it. It was the only book I read in high school, The Catcher and the Rye. They wanted us to read a lot of books. I read one. Okay. Somehow I became an English major. And so I say all that to just say, a lot of people find, just like when writing papers in college, just starting is the hardest part. And I think that's where all of you listening to this and watching this, like, get with Chandler, get to this next training, because just getting yourself going in the right direction can be really impactful, right? You have something on your heart. You have something in your mind that you want to get out on paper. You want to grow your business as a way to offer something of value to grow your business. Like, get there, get to this training, because it is the hardest part, because you think it's this albatross of a thing that is so big you can't conquer it. Chandler will dumb it down, simplify it, create it where you will start to be able to take actions towards your goals. So let's talk about the best way. Like, what are you doing, or what would give some advice for us entrepreneurs in terms of the book? Like, what are some strategies to help? Like, the reason why I'm asking is, in my head, I know too much at this point because I just went through this. But someone may be listening or watching, why would a book help me build my business? How could it help me build my business? It's a book, right? Do authors make any money?
Yeah, no, these are all really great questions. And I would say I'll cover this on the training as well, and I'm going to break down on the training. It's a $7.5 million blueprint. That's about how much my book and my books generated in revenue for my business last year. And so I'll walk through the blueprint of exactly how we're doing it. But I like to think of this in the lens of, if we're talking business owners specifically, because can you make money off the book itself? Sure. Is it life-changing money? Absolutely not, unless you are the 1% of the 1%. Right
Right.
now, is it nice to say, "Hey, sell 100 books a month, and 3 years from now, I'll get a few $100 a month royalty check because I self-published"? Yeah, that's awesome, and that's one of the truest forms of passive income is just that book that keeps selling. So yes, but I mean, it's not life-changing money for most people. So where the real upside for most people listening to this is on the business side of things. So I like to think in 3 buckets. It's how do I use the book to get more leads, more sales, more referrals. And so leads, this is giving away the book for free all over the place, whether in digital form, ebook form. We use it, and this actually kind of ties in lead sales, right? This it ties into the sales process and getting more sales. Is we use the book. I mean, we give it away at every part of the funnel. So it boosts conversions, it boosts signups, it boosts show ups, it boosts appointments booked, it boosts close rate, because there's a certain authority that comes when people find out that you're an author, right? The root word of authority is author. You can't spell the word authority without the word author. So in the mind of your prospects or customers, when they find out you wrote the book on the thing that they need help with, it kind of becomes a no-brainer to work with you. So we integrate it in the sales process, see huge lifts there, tons of, and even just on the lead side of things, instead of paying for leads, we are getting free leads because we give away the book for free, or in a lot of cases, we're getting paid to get leads. They buy the book, then they opt into our stuff. And so then that helps getting more sales and then more referrals. I mean, we use it as a big referral piece, and I recommend that people do this as well, is give away 2 copies of your book to every new customer, every past customer, or potential customer. So there's kind of
Mm.
3 buckets that you can go in there. And
Yeah.
we had someone come to one of our workshops and did this for past customers. I think they generated 100 or something $1,000 in revenue in 90 days because they just sent a copy of their book to every past customer with a note that said, "Hey, I'd love to work together again," or if you know someone else who's looking for the help that we help with. And so you just stand out, right? Because not many people are shipping physical books
Yeah.
unsolicited to someone, right? And then with new customers, give them 2 copies and say, "Hey, here's one for you. Here's one for someone you know who needs help with the thing that I help with." Right? So now all of a sudden, people are you turn active customers into active referrers, and
Yeah.
they're sending you business by making them look good.
Yep.
Because I'm saying, "Hey, Colby, you should check out this book, and actually, here's a free copy that I got for you." Right? And instead of saying, "Hey, Colby," I know I'm referring to you by your last name.
Everyone
Um,
does, by the way. Everyone
you're
does.
so, but like instead of saying, "Hey, you should work with Chandler and self-publish.com." Right? And so it's just, it just makes it a little bit easier for people to refer you business. So I could go all day within those buckets, but that's how I think about it, is how do we strategically build this as a pillar that continues? I call it the silent salesman. This book's out there selling for us all day, every day. And me and my sales team aren't having to say anything because the
Yeah.
book's speaking and it's bringing back leads, sales, and referrals.
Which is huge. I mean, if you're in business, all you're trying to do is build your business. Well, the best way to build your business is get more sales. Well, how do you
Mhm.
get sales? You got to bring more leads, right? And so the process as a whole, walk us through time, effort, energy, right? I think again, I'm trying to demyth the thing that I think stops most people, which is it's going to take so much time, so much energy. How am I going to complete it? I want to demyth all that. Guys, it's easier than you think it is.
Yeah. So the process, I would say, there's a couple of things. One, on this training, I'll talk to you about how to get a rough draft done in a weekend. So I know that probably sounds crazy, and this is actually not even including AI. Even without that, it's possible. But I go back to that more writing method. So mind map, outline, rough draft, editing. And what I would really encourage people to do, if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, I'm either planning on doing a book or this sounds interesting, just take 15 minutes as soon as you get done listening to this
Yeah.
and do a mind map with all the ideas around the topic that you'd write your book on. So, what are the stories that you have, the lessons that you've learned, the books that you've read, the ideas that you have? even just the broken record conversations that you find yourself seemingly repeating over and over and over again with prospects, customers, and employees, write those things out. And I think what'll happen, at least this is what happened to me, and this is what happens with a lot of folks that we walk through this process, you start to realize I've got a whole lot more that I could write about
That's
than I
right.
think.
That's right.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so you've seen that. And so now you've got things on the page, and then it makes the outline better and easier. And then the better the outline, the faster the book. And that's where you can get the book, to your point, Justin, you can get the book done a lot faster,
Yeah.
and write a better book.
Yeah, listen, I talk a lot about something, and I've talked a lot about it recently, and this is why I wrote the book, right? So I have 18 years experience in the real estate space. And so I already have a certain amount of credibility, influence, and authority already. I've done this for a long time. But the book is another layer that, to your point, Chandler, 81% of the people want to, less than 1% of people do. So now I'm putting myself in a category of less than 1%. People go into 2025, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to, do more business, work harder, stop drinking, whatever these things are. And then all these people talk about, the 1%ers. This is quite literally a category of you could be in the less than 1%ers, right? And this is all the more reason. If you have a business, if you are some level of an entrepreneur and you want to grow, be in less than 1% of the people that can actually go do that, right? And so, there's no reason, in my opinion, there should be no reason, all of my listeners right now, all the people watching this, that you don't go and at least join us January 15th for another kind of more open Q&A, more coaching and training from Chandler. If you just go to selfpublishing.com/DNA, selfpublishing.com/DNA, there should be no reason you don't. Because this puts you in a category of credibility, influence, and authority immediately, effective immediately. How many of you guys have anything? Now, Chandler, I'm assuming most of your sales come from Amazon. I'm assuming, correct, for your books?
Yep. Yep, for the most part.
The question out there for all of you listening to this, how many of you guys have your own thing that you're selling on Amazon? That someone could go type your name in on Amazon and your thing comes up? Probably not many of you. Do you think there's some credibility, influence, and authority that comes along with that you're on the biggest platform, right? And so I think what I want to dive into here, given the vein of thought I'm on right now, which is talk to us about branding, the credibility that comes along with it, the influence that comes along with it, because I'm big on that right now. Like pushing into 2025, if you really want to separate yourself from everyone else, the 99%ers, you need a brand. Who are you? What do you do? Right? And then when you do go for an ask, people will say, sure, I'm happy to give. So talk about books, credibility, influence, authority, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you want to build a brand, what does having a brand mean? It means that you're known for something.
Yeah.
You can't have a brand unless you're known for something. And a lot of times that known for something is something of value.
That's right.
To the people who are listening, watching, et cetera. So in my opinion, a book is one of the best ways to build a brand. If you think about, just think about how many times we've seen this playbook ran. This is not a new playbook. It works.
Yeah.
It's a buddy of mine, Dan Martell, just launched a book and
Buy back your time. Yeah.
Yeah, buy back your time, right? And I've been talking to him about that book for probably 5 years now. And look at the trajectory of his brand after he published that book.
That's right.
Buy back your time, right? And so now what do you know? What's the brand of Dan Martell? Buy back your time. Okay, Alex Hermosi, what's the brand that you know? Sure, maybe acquisition.com, but how do you know about acquisition.com? Because you probably read one of his books, $100 million leads, $100 million offers, right? And sure, he's doing a lot of stuff on social. And I think there's a lot of great social things to build a brand, but the book is the next step in that.
Mm-hmm.
Or people say, hey, I'm a casual observer, to I'm an active participant in the brand and the movement that you're building. And so that's where I look at it is it's a step in that ascension path that adds massive value. And the physical book is in people's homes and offices. And how else are you going to do that? Like you might be on their phone, but are you in their home? And so it takes that brand and that intimacy to a whole nother level. And even just as something as simple as an audiobook. I mean, if you think about if I listened to a full audiobook from someone and it was read by the author, there's just another level of value.
And guess who does that? Everyone these days, right? Like, there's a couple things. Audiobooks. I'm an English major and I've read a lot and I actually don't mind reading, but finding time to sit down, remove myself versus creating time for an audiobook. Great example. Today, I'm on the dreaded stair climber. Well, I'm like, dude, this is a perfect time for me to listen to, I call it info diet. What is your info diet? Something motivational, inspirational, something that I can, change or so I always am audiobooking all the time. Flights, I'm traveling just like you're traveling. We just shared the stage at Clever Summit, right? Like audiobooks. I'm assuming all of your books are on audiobook.
Oops, sorry, I muted myself. No doubt. Yeah, I mean, they're all on audiobook and we give away the audiobook for free everywhere. In fact, this is a bonus tip for folks. Check this out. So at the beginning of all my books, or maybe not all of them, but just about all of them, I do two things at the top. And I know a lot of people won't see this. If you just go to my Amazon listing for my book published on Amazon and click into the look inside, you're going to see in the first few pages these two things. There's the audiobook for free and there's a video summary. Video summary, this is my best performing webinar. And that summarizes the content of the book, and then the audiobook there for free. So what's happening? You're increasing consumption, right?
Yeah.
Which by increasing consumption, you're increasing the value that you're adding to the reader. And so, yeah, all of mine are on audiobook and I read them. And so I have a podcast as well. And I really believe in podcasts, but I think there's just something that's a next level when you spend, this is not, it's not an interview podcast inside of a book. So my podcast, interview podcast, this podcast, interview podcast, awesome. But a lot of times, you bring me on, the audience is hearing a lot of my thoughts.
That's right.
Right. And not so much of your thoughts, but they listen to your book and it's like, okay, I just spent 5-10 hours with Justin learning the best things that he knows. I'm really interested in that. Okay, hey, how can I work with this guy further? And so it just makes the sales process, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. It just makes the sales process so much easier and simpler while also adding a ton of value. I had a guy show up at our office the other day and he said, "Oh yeah, I read your book and I published a book." He's like, "I didn't even work with you guys." And I'm like, "That's awesome."
Yeah.
That is the ripple effect. So that guy is a brand ambassador for us. Going back to your question on brand, that guy is he's shouting from the rooftops. Selfpublish.com is legit. And oh, by the way, you should read this book. So he's referring us business, right? And he didn't even work with us. That's the power of a book.
That is. And funny, the other thing I was going to say, I see that plaque behind you. You know who my next interview is after you?
Russell?
Russell.
Nice.
Yeah. And so,
another brand built on books.
I was just going to say that. When we think about brand, my very next guest is going to be Russell Brunson. For those of you who can't watch this, some of you are listening to this, right? So behind him, he has the plaque for ClickFunnels, but Russell Brunson has built a massive brand. Now, just like Alex Hormozi, it's books, it's trainings, it's sales, right? He's known setting the record for the most live on stage sales with Grant Cardone, all these other things. But think about where a lot of this brand came from. The book, right? I mean, if you're in any level of any sort of digital sales out there, from enterprise level down to the smallest just started infomercial guy, you know of ClickFunnels, you know of Russell, right?
And just because you read Expert Secrets,
Yeah,
you read Traffic Secrets, one of those books, right? And it teaches a methodology, which just so happens to involve the software that he sells.
that's right. Which is funny. So this goes back to the point that I think a lot of people, I'm going to keep saying this. We're doing another training, January 15th, right? selfpublishing.com/DNA, register. Because a lot of what people don't understand, I'll use Russell as a great example. God, I'll use Grant Cardone as a great example. What does Grant Cardone know for now? Real estate. Everyone knows him as a multi-billionaire, 4, 5, 6, 7 billion, whatever he's at right now for real estate. What catapulted his brand for him to do this? He has 7 or 8 or 9. He might even have 10 books at this point, right? And it's because he leveraged all of the things that went into his 50 or 60 years of entrepreneurship, put them in books like 10X. And that is the catalyst that starts to create a brand we're all now aware of. I mean, if I really think back on who I knew Grant to be was through his sales stuff, that he created a book around sales. But now we all know him as real estate. So I say that to just, it doesn't matter the widget. Like Russell Brunson is a brilliant example of this. He had a tech company, essentially, funnels, right? It's technology. But what he did is he said, okay, well, what can get me more people to get this technology? Well, I need to create a brand as a person. And so he wrote a book. So I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're out there listening to this and you own a bakery shop. I don't care if you're in real estate. I don't care if you're in mortgages or whatever you might be in, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. You need to care about the brand, because if people don't know what you do, then they can't buy the thing you have.
Yeah, it's a great point. I was even just pulling this up as you were talking about that. And I said, oh, what do you know? 2011, he launched Sell or Be Sold. 2011, he launched the 10X rule. When did most people start hearing about Grant Cardone?
That's right. That's right.
It's pretty funny seeing that just kind of trajectory.
Well, and without even looking that up, I just knew that when we started talking, I'm like, dude, think about some of the biggest names. And I remember Sell or Be Sold. It was the first book I bought. It was the first, and by the way, I didn't buy it. I audiobooked it. Right? And so, and then that led into, then he did 10X. I was like, it's pretty motivational. Not totally new idea, right? But
yeah,
cool. And then obviously me being so heavily in real estate, the synergy's there, and I've interviewed him twice, and I'm about to have a third interview with him here in a couple weeks. I say that to just say, like, people forget that he's a best-selling author, because now there's such this, he did what he set out to do and built this incredible portfolio of real estate, and now he's on this other trajectory. But it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Write the book. Get on this training. Because I say it this way. People need to know who you are. They need to know what you do, and then they need to know what you're looking for. And what you're looking for is the opportunity for you to basically grow your business. Sell them something. One thing or another. Sell it to them. Right? So given that, the idea of, where do you think the book publishing, I kind of want to bring up this thought of, people think money, right? Like, I didn't write this book to make $1, right? Like, I'm not trying to be some best-selling author that makes $10 million by authoring. If that's even the right word, by the way. But, is Barnes & Noble's even going to stay? Like, are all these bookstores even going to exist for much longer?
Maybe. It doesn't matter though, honestly. I mean,
physical books will be there, but
so this, this is the big difference, right? It used to be that the only way that you sold books was to be in bookstores. So the only way to be in a bookstore was to have a publisher. That's why they have and had such a monopoly. And the only way to have a publisher was to have an agent and right? There's always gatekeepers and middlemen. But then now over 70% of books are sold through Amazon and other online retailers, and you don't need a publisher to distribute through those platforms. And if I were to ask someone listening, hey, what's the last book that you read? Okay, who published that book? No one would know, right?
Never.
So it's democratized. No one knows. No one cares. They care, is this book good, and will it bring me value?
Yep.
Right? And so, will those bookstores be in business? Maybe so, maybe not. Doesn't much matter, because there's democratization of distribution. And when and even in the sort, if I self-publish, I can give away the book for free all over the place, which is way more valuable than, the lead or the customer is way more valuable than the $4 or $5 I would have made from the royalty of that book anyway. So why not just give it away everywhere and integrate it into my business? And now I'm making tens of millions instead of tens of thousands.
Yep. Is there any limitation to it that you can think of? I mean, what would be any downside to writing? I just literally am sitting here like, why wouldn't everyone work with you, write a book, and get out there? I mean, even if it's just to get something out to start, like, that's the way I look at it, is like, just get your first book out. If your mom's the only person that buys it, so be it, right? But at least you have something to gain some credibility, some authority, to your point, right? Like, author and authority are synonymous, right? And so is there, like, I just feel like
the main limitation is in your mind, right? Because it's a short-term sacrifice and a short-term investment of both time, money, and energy. right, to get the book done. And in order to do that in any area of your life, you have to believe that this is going to lead to a better outcome for
Mhm.
your business and for your future. And so most people, they just don't see it far enough to believe in that piece in the short term and the current. And so that is the barrier. It's believing that I can do it and then making the sacrifice and believing in the short term sacrifice of time, money, and energy to make it happen.
Yeah, and I think the other part is they don't know the things that you can help them do. So, for
Right.
example,
Yeah.
putting it on Amazon. Someone might be
Mhm.
like, "Bro, I don't know how to put something on Amazon, sell
Yep.
it through Amazon. How do I collect the money, and how do I?" So walk through kinda your actual process so they know that, like, all the things that you're gonna help them do.
Yeah, so we help people go from blank page or in some cases even no idea to published author and growing your business using your book. Now, the in between there, there's those 8 milestones for sure, but then there's a bunch of mechanisms. We coach people through the process, and that's a huge, huge, huge value add to actually get the book done, but then to do it at a high level. We've got curriculum and customized kind of programs based on where people are at and what help they need with. And then we do the final mile of publishing. So we do all the hard stuff for you: cover design, formatting, distribution, upload, ISBN, all the random stuff that's confusing. It's going to take you a ton of time. You're probably going to have to hire a bunch of people. It'll cost you a bunch of money. We just do all that stuff for people. And the best thing is you keep the rights and royalties. So we're not putting our hands in your pocket, and you get to bet on yourself. Is entrepreneurial publishing is how I like to think of self-publishing as entrepreneurial publishing. You're betting on yourself, right? And so that's how we help people is all those steps along the journey. And our goal is to save you hundreds of hours in the process, thousands of dollars in the process, and then more importantly, get a quality book done that actually moves the needle in your business. Because
Mhm.
you can spend a lot of time writing and publishing a book and then it does nothing when it has the capability to do so much. And so that's why I just see so many people leaving money on the table, and and there may be people listening to this in this camp as well. It's like, "Oh yeah, I've already done that. Didn't really work for me." I can't tell you how many people have worked with us and they're like, "Oh yeah, I published 5 books, 10 books, 30 books before I worked with you, and then I worked with you, and that one book that I did is more successful than all the ones that I published prior to that because
Yeah,
there's a proven process,
that's
right?
right.
And so that's kinda how we help people and through that process.
Yeah, so to some extent, you almost like just you coach them. You say, "Hey, here's the best utility for your book."
Mhm.
I mean, to your point, great, you write a book and your mom buys it. Like, you've made no impact. I think people should be writing books just on the impact they have, right? People
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, I don't know if I have anything to offer." You have a whole life experience, right? If you're over the age 35, you have a lot to offer, and probably even under that. But there are life experiences that you've gone through, business experience you've gone through, friendships you've gone through, marriages that you've gone through, whatever these things are, they provide value to other people that you can take these golden nuggets. By the way, part of the, we're all aware, um, stories sell, right? Part of the biggest part of the book is letting people know, who are you? What have you gone through? What are the stories that can help that person, right?
Mhm.
To go and do whatever the thing is they're reading the book. Our books, my book specifically, is nonfiction. It's about real estate. It's about building wealth. It's about making a whole lot of money, and so for me, it's like, what have I gone through in this 18-year career? And then what have I gone through personally? I think a lot of people want to connect to the author, right? And so if you're here and you're listening again, it may not be the last time I say it, but make sure you're there January 15th. But you know, you have a lot to offer. And if you're going to limit yourself to what Chandler said in your own mind, don't do that. That's your own limiting thinking. Like, if you're genuine about changing your life going into 2025 and the new year and new you and all those other cheesy ass fucking things that people talk about, but then you're not going to maybe take a risk, go out on a limb and at least learn about trying to figure out how to become an author. I'm telling you, Chandler's the guy to be working with, right? Like, he will simplify everything. You don't need to figure out Amazon and all that kind of stuff. I didn't have to. You won't have to. So, um, what are some other, notes that you think people need to hear regarding this? Whether it's the process, whether it's the ideation of this whole thing. Let's just say someone was in your office right now and sat down and said, "Man, kind of interested in this. Can tell
Mhm.
me why I should do this."
Yeah, and so I kind of break this into two big buckets in my mind. There's the getting the book done, and then there's the using the book to accelerate revenue. So if someone sat down in my office and said, "Hey, I just published this," I'd say, "All right, let's roll up our sleeves and integrate this into your business, and this will be a $1 million revenue stream for you over the next year." Right? If you have a decent enough audience and effort that you put behind this, let's lay out the plan. But for most people, I would assume that are listening to this are not there yet. So you can't scale your business using the book that you haven't published, and you can't publish a book that you haven't written.
That's right.
And
That's right.
so I would kind of start with that and say, okay, what is the main thing? Okay, do that mind map I mentioned earlier. Show up to the training. We're going to walk you through how to actually get it done, and then get the draft done over the next 30, 45 days. Strike while the iron's hot at the beginning of the year, and you've got momentum, you've got energy, you've got focus, all those things. Hey, let's get the book done. And then let's talk about radically scaling your business using that book.
I mean, this episode could not come at a better time for me and just for the time of the year. I mean, literally, it is January 2nd as we're recording this episode, right? Like, if you're genuine about changing your life, changing your trajectory, changing your business, making more money, all these things, you got to be thinking about this, especially if you are a business owner. And even if you're not, I don't want to limit this. Like, there's probably a lot of people out there listening that want to be a business owner. Maybe you still have a W-2. Maybe you haven't really. Doesn't mean you can't be an author, right? Doesn't mean you don't have a story to tell. And in that, I want to encourage heavily to a minimum. It's totally free. Join us January 15th. Chandler and I, go to selfpublishing.com/DNA. I encourage you, because it took me way too long. Now, factually speaking, I wrote a book a decade ago. My friend had some things. It got to Amazon. It went essentially nowhere. I think I sold 6 copies, called The Science of Flipping. Shocker. And it's still there on Amazon. I have hair and everything. I'm wearing a tie. I thought you were supposed to be this big businessman in real estate. It's classic. But to the person that is like, I don't know if I have, that was my first attempt. I'm talking to you because I am you, right? This book in 24 hours hit #1 best-selling author on Amazon. There's a drastic difference in the two, but it's still encouraging for you to understand you can still write a book and get the thing going, right? And so I encourage you to really be there January 15th. And kind of just any parting words, Chandler, that you want to say, besides obviously get to January 15th, selfpublishing.com/DNA. What else do we want to part the listeners with?
Yeah, I would say 2 things. One, you can't get published if you don't get started. And you may think it's going to be a big cost of time and money to do it. I think the bigger cost is in the opportunity cost and all the time that you waste. And I can't tell you how many. And Dan's a buddy of mine, so I'm kind of giving him a hard time here. But the book came out, he's like, "Man, this is crazy. This totally changed